For the second time this year, we're looking at a military shooter that's licensed on real people, but unlike Blackwater, this one's not based on war criminals! I think, so far as I know. Dick Marcinko is a Navy SEAL who ran Black Ops missions all over the world during the Korean, Vietnam, and Cold Wars, and founded the elite counterterrorism unit of SEAL Team 6. You may know them as the guys who nailed Osama bin Laden! A decorated war hero, Marcinko used his retirement years to pen a series of war and spy novels starring a fictionalized version of himself called Rogue Warrior, and Bethesda, eager to move into game publishing, scooped up the rights to Rogue Warrior to make video games. Bethesda put into development a game codenamed Black Razor, which revolved around playing an elite group of Navy SEALs in a tactical squad-based shooter with a massive multiplayer mode that would randomize spawn points for infinite replayability. And then Bethesda shit-canned Black Razor and gave the game to Rebellion to churn out one of the most content-barren and stock shooters of the generation. Yeah, I don't know if anybody's pinned down exactly why Black Razor was shut down. The cover story is that Bethesda wanted an action movie feel with a heavy emphasis on Dick, a bombastic, larger-than-life lead character that would stick in gamers' memories, aka do some Uncharted in your Navy SEAL game! Frankly, I think Rebellion's pitch was just cheaper and Bethesda's a stingy tight ass, but I digress. Rebellion has made some fantastic shooters that I've deeply enjoyed over the years. Judge Dredd vs. Death was pretty good. Alien vs. Predator Classic 2000 was phenomenal. Being made by a cheap studio does not have to be a death sentence. Maybe Rogue Warrior won't be so bad. Oh, right. The game is set in 1986 as Dick Marcinko, voiced in this game by famous Hollywood actor Mickey Rourke, is headed to North Korea to interrogate a mole who claims the North Koreans are building new missiles. We're introduced to good old Demo Dick expositing about how awesome he is!
Whether I'm prowling and growling or going full fucking Faulkner with lots of sound and fury, you count on this.
And introducing us to his two teammates. They've saved his life on multiple occasions, and neither of them have any names. Odd. After a goofy edit that almost looks like Dick jumped out of the helicopter without a parachute. Oh, so that's where Captain America got it from. The group lands in enemy territory. They take out a patrol of soldiers, and the frame rate kinda sucks turds despite this being a pre-rendered cutscene. But unfortunately, things go horribly wrong. Okay, no. That was impossible! Dick's unnamed friends, both ostensibly elite-trained soldiers, spot that one of the bad guys has pulled a pin from a grenade and just stand there staring for a full 8 seconds! Neither has the survival instinct to even try to run or jump for cover. Did Dick bring the two most suicidal troops that he could find? And the weirder thing, Dick was already running away before the grenade exploded, meaning he somehow knew about it despite being out of sight and his friends both having given up on life too much to warn him about the imminent kaboom. Did Dick see something on the floor that he was diving for? Oh, sweet, a quarter! Ah! Also, I know the explosion sound effect there was buggy, and I tried to fix it, but when I tried to edit around it, I found out the game is so unstable that the opening cutscene's lighting radically changed between two identical playthroughs. So now, instead of worrying about fixing my recording goof, I have to worry about dropping everything to point out a game bug that I'm not even sure how you do that. Now behind enemy lines with no backup, Demo Dick continues the mission solo.
It's a total goat fuck. Goddamn KPA, we're waiting for us. Or, fuck no.
Or, yeah, that's another way of putting it.
Goddamn cock breath, commie motherfuckers! Suck my balls, my hairy fucking big balls. Wrap them around your fucking mouth. Shit! Get dead, fuckbag.
The big thing that the game's known for is that Dick swears in just about every single line of dialogue that he speaks. And he talks to himself a lot as the levels go on. He even swears a lot of the times that she gets shot, which, admittedly, kinda refreshing for a shooter protagonist to admit that getting shot really hurts.
Drop dead, motherfucker, you fucking amateurs.
The funny thing is this is apparently less profane than Dick's dialogue in the actual books. Well, great. Now I need to censor my own language to make sure that YouTube doesn't age-gate my butt. Rats. Rogue Warrior is full of ungodly, muddy textures. I mean, this is the first thing that you see in the game. What gives? Rogue Warrior is a military shooter in the vein of Call of Duty, I'm told. You're dropped into a painfully linear level and left to shoot your way through a series of enemies who use cover. The bulk of the game's weapons are machine guns that behave nearly identically down to the reload times and recoil, so you won't ever pay much attention to which weapons you plunder off the enemy corpses, just nab whatever you can find ammo for, and whatever isn't a shotgun. And in a total jerk-face move, several guns take longer to reload if you run out while firing than if you'd reloaded early on your own. Like in most modern military shooters, you die after only a handful of hits, so you'll probably want to do most of your shooting from behind cover, where the game shifts to third person. Except there's one tiny little problem here. Shooting from cover sucks! The game has bat poop restrictions on where you can aim while in cover, like everything's been hard-coded with invisible walls. Even with the control sensitivity cranked up, your aim is clunky and constantly overshooting. You can't line up a shot before hopping out of cover because your cursor shifts. When you stop firing, the cursor resets to where it was pre-recoil, so your aim is constantly teleporting. I once had Dick reload the same gun 4 times in a row because crouching into or out of cover interrupts the reloading animation. I've had grenades hang on invisible air when I tried to throw them from cover, but the killer is that the aiming cursor when cover shooting never gets half as narrow as you'd like, so your bullets tend to scatter all over creation to where it takes 5 times more ammo than normal to hit every single cockamamie target! If you shoot while out in the open, you can iron sight aim with pinpoint accuracy and actually hit the dang people that you tried to shoot, so the choice is yours, numbnuts! Shoot out in the open and die at about a moment's notice, or shoot from cover and barely be able to hit jack past a medium distance. Heck, several of the enemies have a suicidal tendency to slowly walk up on your cover, and this turns out to be a very viable tactic because the controls when in cover are so inconceivably bad that shooting one guy next to you out in the open is borderline impossible. Look at this poppycock! I'm just holding right on the control stick to try and shoot the guy right next to me, and Dick is thrusting in and out of the wall like he found the mother of all glory holes! Shoot straight, you monkey butt! It's not that hard! So yeah, stow the cover, I'm shooting in first person and dying like a man. And you know, when the cover-based shooter is more playable out of cover, you failed pretty hard. Then again, shooting from cover gave me this gem in the graphical department. Look at how unnaturally slick and shiny Dick's head is here. It's like they pumped a gallon of shellac over Dick's face.
Big face!
A lesson that I learned very early on is to never drop Dick's silenced pistol. It never runs out of magazines and you start every level with the gun even if you dropped it. Of course that leaves you only able to carry one weapon because the game has a strict 2-weapon limit, but all the machine guns are practically identical anyway, so who cares? The only downside is that the pistol is virtually useless in cover because you can barely hit a target firing 10 rounds a second, let alone one shot at a time. You're supposed to use the silenced pistol for stealth, since in some areas it's possible to sneak by the enemies undetected, for absolutely zero benefit. I could never tell if the game wants you to be stealthy or not because there's almost zero penalty for getting caught. Yeah, the whole 2 enemies in the room will start shooting at you, so what? Maybe 1 or 2 extra normal goons will spawn in to inconvenience you for a whole 10 extra seconds. And no matter how sneaky you are, every level is rigged to where you're detected automatically at some point anyway, so the game's optional stealth system is almost completely pointless. And it's not the only half-baked mechanic. Several rooms will have a big and obvious fuse box that you can shoot to shut off the lights in the area, which is your cue to put on the night vision goggles and hunt all the enemies who can't see jack. In theory, I found the enemies are usually perfectly capable of shooting you whether the lights are up or not, and you don't even need the night vision goggles when you have the game's brightness slider in the options. So the few attempts that were made to elevate the game above the dime a dozen shooters of the age are barely tacked on afterthoughts. You can also sneak the sneaks by walking up to enemies and performing melee knife kills, of which there are something like 20 animations, and the enemy AI is so bad, with some enemies getting so snuggled up and dug in behind their cover, that running up to Michael Myers their butts is sometimes a viable option. The enemy AI is probably the biggest drag on the gameplay. Baddies take up positions on the other side of the map, and yeah, they have near pixel-perfect aimbot accuracy, but they just kind of sit there, dug into where you can barely hit them unless you sit there waiting ages for a clean shot, which you then won't be able to land for the melon-farming busted cover mechanics. enemies almost never try to flush you out with grenades or by outflanking you to where more proactive tactics are necessary. And the few times that enemies do rush your position, they do it by leisurely strolling up to you a big fat obvious target, like the game is counting on the flawed aiming mechanics to make up a challenge. Late in the game, the enemies get armor to where they take a few extra hits to kill. That's it. The only other conceit to a difficulty curve or advanced AI tactics is, well, what if enemies drop from the ceiling so that you have several seconds to mow them down before they take up cover? Thanks! That ended the room faster! Maybe it's just the way I was playing, but the game was kind of a tedious slog of repeating more or less the same shootouts in just marginally different locales. I get this is meant to be a more grounded, realistic shooter, so you're not going to get flamethrower mechs or RPG dudes or zombie attack dogs. It still feels like there's no variety to be found here. Even the snipers just behave like regular enemies. I wouldn't even notice that a sniper was in play until I stumbled across a corpse with a sniper rifle lying on top of it. The one thing I'll give the combat is that at least the grenades have really good splash damage, and you can carry and spawn with 6 of them at once. I guess there's a reason Marcinko's nickname is Demo Dick. The other positive I'll give the game, at least it didn't crash. Rerez covered the PC version of the game, which crashed like a melon farmer, and I've heard from 2 different friends that the PlayStation 3 version is so unstable that it nearly bricked a whole console. Not the Xbox 360 version, though. The game works perfectly on this platform. Well, perfect by Bethesda's infamously low standards anyway. The most entertainment you'll get from this game, apart from Marcinko's profuse profanity, is the sheer level of jank and lack of polish in the graphics. Not a lack of polish on dickhead graphics, though, clearly. There are boxes that'll take off flying like balloons when shot, computers that get stuck inside anything nearby, and I really hope you don't keep shooting at the dead bodies, or else you'll notice really quickly that only about 6 blood splatters can exist in this universe at a time. Head blood magically disappears to make room for leg blood, and leg blood disappears to make room for more head blood. Fascinating. Oh, gross! Why is the blood that came out of this dude's foot all white? Or his ankles android parts from the Alien movies? Or did he use all of his socks to, oh, never mind, the blood is still red. The terrible lighting effects just make it look like he bleeds Greek yogurt. Don't worry, I can clean all this mess up in a jiffy. I'll just shoot a different guy a few times, and presto! First guy's blood has vanished. This is another reason why you never drop the infinite ammo pistol, to play with all the bodies. Take, for example, this guy who was fleeing over a wall as part of a scripted event, so I shot him, and now he's floating in midair like a magician doing a party trick. I'm guessing the game's got him stuck because his arm is still holding the railing, so, just push him off. There we go. But my absolute favorite was this poor sod who had a rather violently unstable reaction to being murdered. His name is Rio, and I shot him full of lead. And now he's dancing even though he's very dead. But don't feel bad, 'cause the jerk's a commie red. Oh, Rio's got 5 bullets in his head. The story is pretty much a thin excuse for Demo Dick to rampage through a bunch of vaguely military-themed buildings shooting communists. The first level, Dick goes to meet up with an informant who's got intel on North Korean missiles, and he finds the dude dead, but luckily he just so happened to leave behind a sheet of paper spelling out the intel anyway. The second level, you head to the factory producing the missiles, which looks really small and with little to no equipment for actually building missiles.
The great leader must have a tiny dick.
But you find out most of them have shipped already, so you set charges on the remaining missiles to blow them up, somehow barely damaging the buildings with all the humongous explosions. The Admiral just pulls intel out of his butt that the missiles are all shipping out by boat, so you attack the docks and... I'm sorry, but... the computers. They clearly remembered this is supposed to be 1986 because they're giant monitors and all just have plain green gibberish text, but there's no desktop tower anywhere, there are no cables on either the monitors or the keyboards, nothing is ever plugged in, which might not have been a problem if you didn't walk past a prominent storage rack full of tons of unplugged monitors that are somehow still turned on just fine. Maybe the missile should be a lower priority than North Korea having computers from the future. The missiles are being shipped out via train, much to Dick's chagrin.
It's a goat fuck, Admiral. Your intel was bullshit.
So you hop on top of the train to track the missiles.
Keep a low profile, Master. We don't want to make any headlines.
His code name is Demo Dick. He's carrying a few dozen big-ass bombs, judging by how every mission has you set bombs on missiles to wipe out entire buildings. There is nothing low profile about this guy that you sent on this mission. The missiles get shipped to Russia because this has all been a Ruski plot to secretly build up arms during the Cold War. The Admiral orders Dick to stand down so the Cold War doesn't escalate, but the game wouldn't be called Rogue Warrior if you followed orders, now would it?
You wrap this thing now, or I will nail your ass to the wall for insubordination.
Say it again, boss. You're breaking up.
Dick! Dick! Dick!
Dick sets out to blow the bridge to stop the train, but I got caught in the middle of my sabotage mission by this guy. This guy, who stood in place, perfectly motionless, staring at me 2 feet away, doing nothing. Hello? Anybody home? You've just been shot! Any thoughts on that? Cheesy Pete's. You know, maybe I've been going about stealth the wrong way all this time. I've been trained by the GoldenEye reboot to try and headshot all the guards with my pistol, and I keep getting caught. But if they stuck Helen Keller over there on guard detail, the guards might not be as observant as I thought. I played through the game a second time, altering up my strategy. Instead of carefully sneaking through each level with the silenced pistol, I flat-ass ran through all the levels, knifing as many enemies to death as I could. I found out that sans bugs, the enemies have perfectly good vision, but they are deaf as doorknobs. You can walk or flat out run up on enemies to knife kill them, and not only will they not hear a single thing, but this strategy will keep you undetected much longer than my earlier overly cautious methods will. You can blaze through about half of all the stages, skipping extraneous fights, and frankly, any time that you're down to one enemy left in the room, you're probably better off just running up to them for instant melee kills. Even in mid-gun battle, it's often faster and easier to just charge up on enemies and knife them. You're invulnerable while performing the takedowns, and enemies are not smart enough to surround you while you're held motionless. Odds are they'll go hide and cover while you gut their friends in front of them, so you can just run over and continue your kill streak. Check out this moron who opened fire straight at me with a full auto weapon and didn't even scratch me once! Oh, Dick stabbed this guy right in the... Well, Dick! It feels like pure luck whether this tactic works in the supposed blacked out areas, because the enemies can't really decide whether they can see you or not. The game's stealth rules are so inconsistent that sometimes I can knife through entire blacked out sections, and sometimes I get shot 2 seconds into the exact same room. The knife kill also doesn't always work, as there were several times in my stabby playthrough where the melee prompt appeared, but the button didn't do anything! And the bug really freaked out this dude right here. He doesn't know where to aim. One of the stealth kills involves shooting an enemy with his own gun, I think, because the gun doesn't actually fire when you do this. And this guy I stabbed so hard that he phased into a wall. Jeez. My hand to God, even counting all the times I got killed or stopped to screw around for my own amusement, my second stabby playthrough clocked in just under 2 hours. You save so much time and skip so much game by abusing the stupid AI that this train wreck gets down to movie length. And I remind you that this was a full-price AAA game upon release, brought to you by the same publisher that developed... Okay, yeah, that tracks. Dick traces the missiles to a Russian palace, which opens by having you fight guards so camouflaged by a hedge maze that you just get shot from the darkness and can't see anyone. And still only the second worst hedge maze to be stuck inside. This was the level where I decided to try out the sniper rifle, and I'm glad that I did, because Dick uses that magic kind of sniper rifle that's an instant one-shot kill regardless of where it hits. Shoot a guard in the elbow? Dead. Snipe someone in the footsie? Super dead! Okay, now I'm curious whether shooting a guard in their gun is fatal. Let's try for that trick shot. Whoa! Okay, shooting that guy in the gun was fatal because I hit the TNT box that I didn't know was behind him. Huh. That was close enough that I think I'm going to call it. Shooting somebody in the gun is fatal. Darn it, I missed him. Shoot. Hold still, you little... This is how uninvolving and friggin' easy the game is, by the way. I'm amusing myself with dumb made-up challenges. Dick penetrates the command center and discovers that the missiles are only one part of a bigger rescue plan. They've developed a guidance system that will allow them to intercept American missiles, neutralizing America's arsenal in a nuclear war. For reasons that I cannot fathom, Dick's admiral orders Dick to stand down so that another team can be deployed to reach the exact place I've already breached. Weird. I guess they didn't think the rogue warrior was rogue enough yet. So Dick fires a missile down into the base itself to destroy the guidance system by exploding the palace from the outside in. Next, Dick has to fight through the secret underground bunker and place charges on missiles to blow up the base again! While the sniper rifle worked wonders last level, maybe I should actually try the shotgun. Wow, I regret this decision! The shotgun can't hit jack at long range, and a lot of the shooting is done at long range. Hence, the shotgun is only really useful in tight hallways with enemies out in the open, situations where literally any gun will do the trick. So the streak of modern shooters giving you shotguns that do squat is still alive. And the second that you open a critical locked door, 3 goons teleport in behind you and shoot you to death.
Dick.
After an extensive battle with goons in a parking garage where you do while you're shooting from an office, Dick blows the missiles, demolishes the enemy base, and escapes. Cut to a dam. For some reason. Out of nowhere, Dick is now trying to find a submarine that hasn't been mentioned once up to now, and he needs to blow up a dam to stall it. The submarine apparently has the tracking system for Russia's defense grid, but how? The palace was the computer center for the defense grid, and the mission objectives for the bunker spelled out that we were taking out the MacGuffin computers in the previous level. But now somehow the tracking system that we've blown up twice has magically teleported to a hitherto unmentioned submarine because Rebellion needed to add padding at the last minute. Whatever, the dam opens with a sniping section and oh jeez, look at this. When you use the sniper scope, it zooms in on the snow so you can see all the jagged pixels in every snowflake. It looks like Nintendo 64 snow! And is it just me, or does the snow effect follow me inside so that it kind of looks like it's snowing indoors? Dick heads to the dam and sets bombs on the turbines. Destroying the turbines only holds up the sub for like 2 minutes. And then Dick heads to the submarine dock to set bombs on missiles again. The submarine dock is built from a lot of very conspicuously copy-pasted hallways and catwalks, and then to reach the sub you have to fight your way down a really long hallway full of bad guys. I figured I could just hang back and snipe all the enemies at my leisure, but I couldn't because the game has boatloads of hit detection issues. I already mentioned that the game screws with your aiming when you try to shoot from cover, but here in the home stretch is where I finally noticed that past a certain distance the game can barely read hits at all. Like here, where I landed a sniper rifle headshot that did nothing, or this infuriating instance where I landed 5 sniper shots to a guy's center body mass, and it didn't even tickle! Some of this is probably due to the enemies having body armor, but it feels like a much larger part is bad programming. Look at this! How has this guy still not... I think that last guy may already have been dead. Not that the enemies have trouble killing you, though, because there were several times in the game that I died for no apparent reason! Seriously, I'm not high on damage, there are no gunshot sounds, no explosions, I just stop living and hit the deck and have to reload a checkpoint. Admittedly, part of this is because completely anonymous unmarked boxes will explode here in the home stretch, but 90% of my spontaneous combustions, I was never able to find an explanation. Are these snipers, or is it death by game glitch? Lord knows that I have ample evidence for the latter. Eventually, though, Dick fights his way to the submarine and finds the guidance system loosely duct-taped to the outside of the sub. And then you win. Dick just grabs it and swims outside to back up an exfil, and the game's over. It seriously feels like the game just kinda cuts off. The hallway of turd hit detection was the best they could do for a climax.
I heard the commies cost you 2 good men, Commander. I'm sorry.
I don't know, guys. By Jigsaw logic, they killed themselves. And yeah, even if you play slow and methodical like my first attempt at the game, you'll be lucky if this full-price AAA release crosses 3 hours long. No wonder I played this stupid thing twice. Also, wasn't it just terrific dramatic writing that our hero Dick blows through the armies of 2 nations single-handed, with no sense that any of the enemies are a real threat, no drama or tension over whether he can accomplish the mission, no setbacks to where Dick is down and out and has to rise over the odds, and everything goes our hero's way the entire story? Because we based our game on a real-life war hero and thus we cannot risk any implication that there's a force on Earth that can stop America's finest? I've heard the Rogue Warrior game compared to Rambo, but Rambo got captured and hung in a river of pig poop and needed the locals' help to bail him out of at least 2 movies. In between, trying to find a way through day-to-day life because he started out as an allegory for trauma and VA rights. Things at least occasionally went catastrophically wrong for him. Here, he's fine. Leisurely vacation stroll through Russia. Rogue Warrior is bad. At its best, the game is every generic military shooter done poorly with unpolished graphics, repetitive enemies, dumb AI, and finicky shooting mechanics that make the combat a slog. At its worst, the game is outright busted. Between dying quickly out in the open and barely being able to hit things when in cover, it feels like there's no correct way to play the game unless you get bored and experiment enough to know that you can just knife your way through most of the moron enemies. The only thing that stands out about it, ironically enough, is the writing and voice acting that made the game infamous in the first place. Listening to Mickey Rourke swearing his face off in such over-the-top diatribes that it becomes hilarious. And I think even Rebellion was aware of this, because over the end credits we get what most hail as, sadly, the best part of the game. Mickey Rourke's in-game lines haphazardly cut together into a rap song.
You morons will love this. Hide and seek, motherfuckers. Anybody home? Hey, Daddy's here. Come on. Glad to see me, fuckers.
I don't know what's my favorite part here. The dumb lyrics, the flat, unenthusiastic deliveries, trying to make a song out of a dude just talking, or the awkward gluing together of totally disparate lines. The song is so bad it's good gold. Given how much fun you can have just studying the jank and breaking the game, Rogue Warrior may just be one of those rare so bad it's good video games. The length certainly helps with that, as long as you play it on the Xbox 360, because otherwise...
Dick. Dick. I'm a dick.
Dick.
Hope you assholes like fireworks. Ooh! Fucking commies keep getting in my way. Well, surprise, motherfuckers.
Happy fucking birthday.
That's right, nighty now, you sweet piece of shit. Enjoy the ride, cocksucker. Have a nice trip. Boom time, baby. Trick or treat. Looks like a party, come on. I got places to go and people to meet.